So I think I'm live. I'm just quickly making sure everything is working on the other side as well. So my sound a little bit closer. There we go. And I'm just quickly making sure that everything works on Facebook as well. So bear with me a second. I had a bit of a chaotic week, but I wanted to go ahead with this sketchbook session anyway. So there we go. Why does this not work? I think I will need to pass on this for a moment. So there we go. You know what? I'm just going to stay on YouTube for today. It is a little bit easier that way. So there we go. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. I am going to do some sketchbooking today. If you're new to me, if you've not met me before, my name is Irene. I do a live sketchbook session every week on YouTube and on Facebook as well, if I can. So I'm just moving things around. So I'm going to use this sketchbook today and I'm going to sketch some portraits, really simple, in pen and ink. So I have my fountain pen here today. This is a technique that I use quite often, where I use ink and then I add some water for some shadows. I'll just quickly show you some examples of that. So this is some drawings that I did last week in a live session. So we're going to sketch a little bit similar, but portraits. And I had a free page here. So I think I'll start with this one, and then once that is full, I will carry on to this page here. So, oh, excuse me. So I'm putting some clips on my book. And the reference photos that I'm going to use are from Pinterest. So I will link my Pinterest board to the chat. So just quickly find the link to it. So it's basically just makings and musings on Pinterest. So if you go to my Pinterest, you can find my boards there, and every reference photo I use, I will pin it to my Pinterest board, so you can find them there if you want to look at them a little bit closer. So let me make this one a little bit larger. So I'm just going to draw a random selection of portraits. I have not prepared the photos. I just chose this first one because I really liked the photo. I thought it was a little bit quirky with these big glasses. So I like this first one, and then I'm just going to draw whatever picture comes up. So quick sip of tea, and then I'm ready to get started. There we go. Just a quick notice: next week on Thursday, I have to cancel the class because I'm traveling. But then the week after, we'll carry on as normal. So zooming in a little bit. There we go. So, are you ready to do some drawing? If anyone has any questions, put them in the chat. I keep an eye out for it. And I'm always happy to answer questions and to help. There we go. So, let's get started. So I'm going to start with this first portrait. First drawing is always a little bit tough. I've not done any drawing yet today. And you can see I'm using my fountain pen today. So this is these glasses. It's okay if it's a bit wonky. I'm just warming up, getting to know our subjects for today. I'm not going for like hyper-realism. I'm just trying to create a character based on these photos. So if you're drawing along, try to be not too strict with yourself. Drawing portraits is quite hard as it is. And we are just practicing today. I think very often, especially when drawing faces, people put a lot of pressure on themselves to get it right and to... see, these glasses are actually much bigger. I'm going to make them a bit larger. People put a lot of pressure on themselves to get them right. And sometimes it's, especially when you're just warming up, things are going to be a bit wonky, and that's okay. I'm just trying to cover the essence. I like this woman's sort of the style that she has, very sort of prim and proper and a little bit quirky. So, and I'm working in black and white, otherwise I probably would add some of the clothes in as well. Oh, hi Nicole, really lovely to see you. I hope you're well. So, I think on this page I'm just sticking with ink, and then I'll add the water a little bit later, because as soon as I add the water I can't really turn my page over. So I think I'll just fill this page and then move to the next one. So this is the first sketch. Actually, let me make the lips a little bit more sort of pronounced. So maybe a few more sort of little wrinkles. So there we go. I love drawing elderly people. I just think it's so much fun. Yeah, there's just something about elderly faces that has so much more expression and little wrinkles, and I just love it. I really like drawing people who are a bit older. So let's pick our next picture. How about this one? Just quickly checking if you can see that all okay, and I think you can. And I will also save that to, so it's a board called Portrait Drawing References. If you just go to my Pinterest, you can find it there under the most recent pinned photo, because it's it will be at the top. So another facial expression that is a little bit hard. And we're just having a bit of fun with it. I know people always like sketching faces, even though it is quite a challenge. It's quite a popular subject if I do it here on YouTube. People always like it. So hopefully you like it as well. So this is sort of the shape of the face. So I know for myself that I have a bit of a habit to make faces really a bit too narrow, that I don't leave enough space for it. So just making sure you can see this. So I know that that is a habit that I have. It's okay, I'm aware of it. It still happens sometimes that I did it here as well, where I didn't have enough space. I just moved that line up a little bit. You can't actually notice that original line there anymore. So everyone has different ways of doing it. I also found out recently from people's comments underneath these videos that this is quite an unusual way of sketching for a lot of people, to just, it's okay if it's messy, like that really free, sort of loose way of sketching where you then add some water to things, and that is something that a lot of people find that is new for people. And I think it's interesting that it is a bit uncommon, because I think it's such a nice way of learning, by allowing yourself to just figure out what's going on. And oh, that's pretty scary, that eye, isn't it? See here as well, I didn't leave enough space between the hairline and the eye. So. So I'm just using a really simple fountain pen. People often ask me what materials I'm using this. I don't even know how I got this fountain pen. It's quite a nice one. It's a Sheaffer pen. I think it's quite an expensive pen, but I didn't buy it myself. I think it's potentially from a box from art materials that come from my grandmother, and this pen was in there. And I bought some new ink. I think that's where it came from. I bought some new ink for it and then started using it for drawing. So let's add some shadow. So a few more of these lines. So I'm just seeing, sometimes I see something flickering in the screen and I think someone asks a question, but that's not always the case. So I want this eyebrow to be a bit thicker. So. And remember, I will add some water to this to create more of that watercolor effect. But for now, I'm just sticking with ink for now. There we go. Probably not the best portrait, but that's okay. Let's have a look at another one. Maybe this man. I think that is quite a fun portrait. I always struggle with glasses a little bit, so this is the challenge for me to draw glasses on people. So this is the forehead. I'm just taking my time. These are the glasses. So I don't have enough space on my paper here, and that's okay. Sometimes it is quite nice just to carry on drawing, and then instead of trying to squeeze everything in, I just let it go off the page. That's also something that when you're new, when you're sort of people who are beginners, who are new to drawing, they often try and squeeze things on the page, even though they don't have enough space, and then you sort of get stuck, or all your proportions are really off. So I always recommend try to just accept the fact that it goes off the page a little bit. It's okay. There we go. I notice I start to ease into this process a little bit more. That lots of things have been going on here in the background, and I was a little bit stressed out. But it's really nice to start drawing and to focus on what's on the paper. So I always find that whatever is happening in my life, drawing is a really good way to ground and to come back to the things that are important. So that's a little side. I don't know, I'm being a little bit cryptic. I might share a bit more about it at some point, but for now, yeah, I should sort of leave it at that. I'm going to leave this page for a moment and choose a new reference picture for the next page. I'm going to add some water to this later on, but if I do it now, then I can't, then I have to dry it first. These are all live sessions from my creative community. I think all of you are aware that I host a creative community where we paint together, a little bit more intricate than what we do in these sketchbook sessions, so this one as well. And this one as well, they're all community live sessions where we paint and draw together. This one is available on YouTube. So this is what I'm planning to do with these drawings as well. Add a bit of water to it and then make it into like a paint type picture. So it's a new page. And I'm just carrying on with my drawing practice. There we go. So new reference. Let's have a look. I know you can only see half the page here. How about this picture? I quite like pictures that are almost a bit like caricatures, where people are really strong characters. I think that is a lot of fun to draw. So if you see that in the reference pictures that I choose, then that is right. That's why I like picking people with strong features. I find that a lot of fun. Hard to draw and chat, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to chat away unless you have a question or something. I know I am good at chit-chatting while I draw, talking, but not necessarily at typing. Because that is a whole different skill, isn't it? So, I think I will zoom in a little bit. There we go. So this time I'm going to add some water because I have a double spread. So a little bit more space, and I will show you exactly what that technique is that I have been talking about. You might already know it from previous sessions. So this is the forehead. As you can see, I'm sort of diving straight into these shapes without doing like a preliminary sketch or anything. So, then this sort of chin. I think my proportions are a little bit off, so the nose needs to be a bit longer. There we go. So sometimes I need to concentrate for a moment. So this is the hair. So. See how I don't just put one line on the paper and then that's it. I'm slowly figuring out what the shape is that I'm looking for. Taking my time. And just figuring it out in slow sort of moves and shapes. So it doesn't all have to be perfect. It's all sort of part of this sketching exploration. We can all be so hard on ourselves sometimes when we're drawing, especially when we're drawing portraits. I don't think anyone critiques your work as harshly as we do our own work. So I'm really trying not to do that today. We just embrace the fact that we make time for art, and that's fantastic. Whatever the results of the drawing are, the fact that we made time to do this will set us up for a more creative day. So, there we go. I think the overall sort of line of the drawing in the photo is a little bit more sort of forward facing. Maybe I can, I am going to add water to this, so I can sort of sculpt this a little bit more, so to say. Should we add some water, see what happens? I always think it makes quite a big difference to the look of the artwork. Oh, I'm really proud of really cool. That is really great. I think it is really scary to upload yourself, especially to do something where you're being really vulnerable. You show yourself. I think filming something else that you do is quite hard. You're not late at all, Sandy. Just join in, make yourself comfortable. We have started, but you can join in anytime. I think it is really vulnerable to share something that you've made, sort of, and to show yourself doing it, whether that's drawing or reading something, or it is a really vulnerable thing to do. And I think it's great. I think sometimes we can feel like a bit overwhelmed by things like that, but it's you never know who you inspire with it as well. Someone who sees that and thinks, oh, that's really brave, I'm also going to create something or share something, or I think that's absolutely fantastic. See, I used quite a lot of ink here, so a lot of blue came out. I have a pot of water here as well, but this is a water-filled brush that I quite like to use for this type of drawing. And if you are just joining in, I'm doing a series of sketches. This is one of them. So you can either sketch along or wait for the next one. That will start in a few minutes. So see how this ink almost changes into watercolors. So it's very easy, how do you say it, like this, it's very fluid, the type of ink that I'm using. I know that other people have tried this with ink that doesn't move so easily. Sometimes it's because the ink is waterproof. It can also be the type of paper that you use. So you might want to experiment a little bit with different types of pens. I also use dip pens sometimes with sort of wet ink, which works really well. The main thing is just that the ink needs to be water soluble. I host a lot of classes where we really try to use ink that is waterproof and then paint over it. So that's a very different technique. I might do a bit more drawing to that in a moment once this is dry. So where it's very important that our ink is waterproof. But for what I'm doing today, I want to use ink that is not waterproof, that is water soluble. So I do think there's a little bit of delay, so if you're watching this online, you're probably seeing it with a little bit of delay. Watercolor with fountain pen ink. Oh, have you? Yeah, that is fantastic. I think it is such a fun technique to practice and so much fun to do. Let's see. I've done a bit of a selection. I think all these faces are brilliant, to be honest. Should I do another man? How about this one? Another very strong feature. So I'm just moving up. So if you're just joining in, this is a good point to join in. It's all about just experimenting a little bit and loose drawing. So there we go. How I'm going to start with this face. I also feel like now I'm warming up a bit more. So it always takes a bit of time to warm up. I say this very often, but making art, drawing is a little bit like exercise. You have to warm up. So I might even exaggerate these features a little bit. So this is the eye. Know that there's a bit of an eye here as well on the other side. So, I think it's a technique that is a lot of fun and something that a lot of people don't realize that you can do, because it also works really well sort of on the go. When you're traveling, you can make a quick sketch and then you come home and you add a bit of water to it. So I find it fascinating that people's features and faces come in so many different shapes and proportions, and I know we all have these images in our heads of like what beauty looks like or what a face should look like, but people come in so many different shapes and sizes, and I find that a lot of fun to draw that as well. Hi Anne, really lovely to see you. I'm glad you think so. I hope you you find some time to do some drawing today as well, or some other creative activity that gives you joy. I know sometimes people join in and just watch, and sometimes people join in and draw with me. Either way is absolutely fine, of course. So there we go. So adding a bit of shadow here. I'm really taking my time for this drawing. I know I draw quite fast, I always do. I always have done as well. I'm a little bit impatient sometimes. But I also do it to keep people on their toes and to stop sort of that feeling of perfectionism, which can be so hindering. I think perfectionism is the kills creativity. So I'm trying to let go of that as well. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to hear that you think so. So just making sure you can see everything okay. I've had a lot of travel recently, and I actually have a bit more travel coming up tomorrow. And I'm back next Thursday, but I think I'll be back too late to host this session normal time next Thursday. So I think I'll have to skip it. Maybe I'll do an extra one on Friday, or I'll have a think about it. Maybe I'll plan in something extra. So let's add some water to this gentleman as well. I think he almost looks like a fantasy character, doesn't he? Like an elf or like some sort of creature from a book. I think I love that. So again, I am going to use a bit of water. So now I'm trying to do is not add the water everywhere. I think in this picture here on the side I added quite a lot of water. I'm trying to be a little bit more selective here and also leave some lines in place, some of the lines that I edit in pen. So oh, excuse me. I went for a run earlier and I washed my hair, so my hair is still a little bit wet. It's very rainy outside, very grey and miserable and rainy. But I still love going out. I think sometimes it's hard to motivate myself to go outside for a walk or for a run, but I never regret it. I'm always happy if I've been outside. So there we go. I quite like it. I think I'm going to leave this one as it is, a little bit more minimal. Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate that. Always sneezing. So let's pick another picture. Did I save this one? Oh, I did not save to my board. Sometimes I forget. You can always remind me as well if I forget, but I try and remember. So maybe a woman. How about her? I think They do look alike a little bit. I think I've made a drawing of this portrait before. I like this photo. So let's do this one. I'm just seeing what the photo was about. It's from a museum, so portrait drawing references. There we go. So very different features, different shapes. Much rounder than this really sort of pointy face that we just drew. I think in the UK you say bless you. Yeah, absolutely. You do. In the Netherlands we say gezondheid, similar to in German. In German you say Gesundheit. So in Dutch you also say that, just with a funny Dutch accent. And yeah, but here in the UK, I'm based in the UK, we say bless you as well. So, there we go. So, next drawing, I want to make sure I leave enough space here at the front. So, I'm just concentrated for a moment on what is the shape that I'm seeing there. Like, what is it, straight or round or long or short? And the more often you do this, the easier it gets. When you first start drawing, it's always a bit hard. And the more often you do it, the easier it gets. So, see, the cheek sort of touches the lip here in terms of shape. And I know that once I add the water, everything will become a little bit more fluid. So none of these lines are quite as sort of permanent as they might seem right now. So that's also quite a fun sort of side effect of the way of drawing. So, I'm not quite happy with those proportions, but it's okay. I have time to sort of adjust it and to figure out what it is that I want to have a little bit different. So, see how it's slowly going to take shape? It's not one line and then that's it. We're slowly figuring out what the shapes are that we're looking for. So I love drawing ears as well. Ears are so interesting. Once you start paying attention to what someone's ears look like. They have such interesting shapes, all a little bit different. There's sort of commonalities in ears, but there's a lot of, like everyone's individual ear shapes are a little bit different as well. So, I think this is a harder face. This sort of, I find drawing these older men much easier than drawing women. So, for some reason, I think it also depends on what you're used to as well, doesn't it? I don't think that's too bad. I think she looks fairly well, like her picture. Not quite perfect, but that's okay. I think I should add in these scars as well, because I'm assuming these are sort of ceremonial or religious scarring. Which I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'm assuming. So a bit more shadow here, a bit more shadow here, which I can then activate with water. So under the lips here is a bit more shadow. So not necessarily on the lip itself. That's often the case. The upper lip, the bottom lip usually catches the light, or the light comes from above, and then underneath the upper lip is a bit of shadow for that sort of light edge there. So flowers. I love the pattern of fabrics. So now I got the chance, I want to add some of that in as well. So there we go. What do you reckon? Ready for adding some water to the picture? Just quickly checking in, see how everyone is doing. Got a few people watching today, which is really lovely. It's always nice. I find it doing a live stream so much easier than doing a pre-recorded video with a voiceover, because there's something about knowing that people are watching at the same time, and that interaction that really motivates me to create something, to film and to talk. And when I do a pre-recorded video, as much as it looks much slicker and you can like stylize it a bit more, and it's like it can look much more sort of professional and slick, I just miss that interaction with people, so I really like doing live sessions. So let's add a little bit of water to this as well. So the first places I'm going to add water is the shadows. So you can see that this ink is also quite intense in a way. It oh, excuse me, really something tickling my nose. That sometimes there's quite a lot of color that comes off it, but then you can see here it dries a little bit lighter as well. So there is that balance between how yeah, you don't always need lots of ink to create an impact. Even a really fine line can be can have quite a strong impact. So once it's wet, I think that looks nice, doesn't it? I like it. So here around that sort of hairline, there's a bit of shadow there as well. There we go. See, I think I'm going to leave it like that. So sometimes it's quite nice to have that mix of that really soft watercolor effect and the sort of finer lines of the pen. So that contrast is something that I really like. So I try to keep that in there, in those drawings. Shall I zoom out for a second? Ooh, there we go. So if I remove the reference picture for a second. So this is what I have here so far. I think this one is dry, this one is dry, this one I've just done, so that is still a bit wet. I might add a little bit of extra details, especially to this one. I've lost some details in the process, so maybe I can add in a little bit more lines. So once things are dry, you can draw over it again. So here for the eyes, for example, has disappeared a little bit. See, that's a little bit clearer. So I like to sort of fill the rest of the page a little bit to make it into a spread where you feel like it makes sense for shapes to sort of be there. So that's very fine, but once I add water to it, I think it will make a little bit more sense. Also, when something is wet and you go over it with a pen, you get slightly different effects again, because the pen mixes up with that water, but that looks a little bit different from when you have ink first and then add water over it afterwards. So it's a slightly different look and feel. So there we go. How's everyone doing? Just quickly checking in. I'm assuming your name is Lucy. I am not doing this session on Thursday next week. No, this is true, because I'm traveling and I won't be back on time. I might do it on Friday instead, so I will schedule it on YouTube and you will see it sort of in the, I'll schedule it ahead and then you will be able to see it. So there we go. I actually want to add a little bit of water to these first sketches as well. So I think this is all dry enough. If it mixes up a little bit when I close it, that's okay, but it just all feels dry. I didn't use too much water, so things dry fairly fast. I actually quite like this spread. I think it came out nice. Sort of 3 larger faces. Sometimes I do lots of really small ones. I don't know if I have any examples of that in this book. Yeah, like this one, also a YouTube session. I think I like this one a little bit better, a little bit more space for, so I actually see things that that are happening. Thank you, I'm really glad to hear that. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this one as well, so I think I can safely close this. There we go. So this was the first drawing from today. Put the clamp on to make it stay open. So these were my first sketches for today. The reference photos are all on Pinterest if you're curious and you want to go back. What shall I do? I think maybe some water here on the outside. See? There we go. Just zoom in a little bit more. Just making sure I'm sharp. I'm using my, I've got a DSLR, so quite a high quality camera that I use for streaming. Mostly because I like to be able to zoom in and out. So. There we go, I quite like that outline. I've got my eyes on a different camera that's not out yet, and which is a bit more like a webcam where you can also zoom in and out and the quality is supposed to be really good. But the setup a little bit easier. But yeah, it's not out yet, so I've got my eyes on it for my next investment, so to say. There we go. I also find it quite fun to do this water without looking at the reference pictures, because sometimes you're being really sort of held back by the reference picture as well, but then once you sort of take a step back and you actually look at your drawing and just work the rest out sort of without sort of stepping away from your reference photo and just drawing the rest without looking at that original photo, it can actually be really fun. So you sort of forget what the photo looked like, and then maybe you actually like your drawing a bit better than what you did when you looked at your reference photo sort of next to it, because you can always see difference. It doesn't matter how great an artist you are, how used you are to drawing portraits, you can always spot differences between a photo and a drawing, because they're different mediums, right? And you're sometimes it depends on the medium that you use as well. Some medium is just not meant for really precise drawings. This medium I could do really precise if I wanted to, especially with that pen. But it really depends on the medium, and it's okay to see a difference between the reference and your artwork. But that's why it's sometimes quite good to make a sketch and then step away, put your photo away, and then finish the rest just by using your imagination. So, there we go. So I add a bit of shadow to her glasses as well. I'm going to let this dry. Sometimes the water works a little bit longer than what the picture did. Sometimes when you look back 5 minutes later, the effect is quite different from the effect that it was when you first applied it, because that ink keeps working and keeps, before it settles, it sort of keeps carrying on and moving. So sometimes it becomes less precise than what you thought it was when you first added the water, which is also quite a nice sort of effect or surprise. You're not really in control when you do this. So. There we go. This one looks a bit scary, doesn't it? Well, I think that's going to be it for me for today. We've been drawing together for 15 minutes. So usually these sessions are between half an hour and an hour, sort of roughly. We can have a quick look. So this is still a bit wet. I want to not close it onto the other page. But yeah, this is the other page that we did. I actually really like this one. I think it came out really lovely. And these are now activated as well. So I don't think anyone can use the excuse that they have no time for art. All you need is a pen, a little sketchbook, and half an hour maximum. Even 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you can make one little sketch. But I feel like once you get started, usually half an hour flies by. So I hope you did some drawing with me today. Really loved seeing you here. Thank you so much, everyone. Really lovely to see you, and I really hope to see you again soon. As I said, I've already mentioned it a few times, there's no session next Thursday, but I'm thinking of putting in an extra live session on Friday when I'm back. So I will keep you posted. If you want to know for sure, make sure you sign up to my email list, because then you get notified of all these events directly. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.